Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of John. We're still in John chapter 12. Today we start reading at verse 12. And this paragraph we're going to read today recounts the events of Palm Sunday as Jesus enters Jerusalem in preparation for the Passover, which is coming in just a few days. Let's see how John records this event for us. So John chapter 12, beginning at verse 12. Now, the next day, the great crowd that had come for the festival, they heard that Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem. So they took palm branches. They went out to meet him, shouting, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the King of Israel." Jesus found a young donkey. He sat on it, for it is written, "Do not be afraid, daughter Zion. Behold, your king is coming, seated on a donkey's colt." Now, at first, his disciples did not understand all of this. Only after Jesus was glorified did they realize these things had been written about him and that these things had been done to him. Now, what a moment this is as Jesus enters the city of Jerusalem. He's coming from Bethany, not too far away, and a great crowd gathers to welcome him. Now, there's already a lot of folks in Jerusalem in preparation for the Passover, we know. And also, the expectation of what Jesus might do is high because he's coming from Bethany, where just not too long ago, he raised Lazarus from the tomb. That story has spread wide. Everyone's heard of it. And they're wondering, could this Jesus, is he the Messiah? Could he be the Messiah? Is he the one? Is he the king? And so this excitement seizes the crowd, and they welcome him as the king. They gather the palm branches and place them in the road, sort of like a red carpet for the king to ride over. He comes riding upon a donkey, which is a fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy. What a moment it is. Now, John tells us that the disciples did not fully realize all that was happening. They did not put all the pieces together. They did not see the fulfillment of all these Old Testament prophecies. Later, after Jesus was glorified, that is, after he was crucified and rose again, they begin to see it all. But right now, they're just caught up in the excitement of the moment as everyone is shouting, "Hosanna, welcome to the King." And there's that expectation of what might come in the days ahead. Now, of course, we Christians recognize Palm Sunday as the beginning of what we refer to as Holy Week, that last week before Jesus was crucified on the cross. So these events on Sunday, this Palm Sunday, start a series of events that will lead to the crucifixion, Jesus' atoning death on Friday, and of course, the resurrection on next Sunday morning. Holy Week. Now, it's interesting, if you think about it, when you read the Gospels, we know that the public ministry of Jesus lasted about 3 to 3.5 years. But a great deal of emphasis is given to just the last week of his public ministry, Holy Week. So, for instance, in the Gospel of John, there are 21 chapters. The events of Holy Week begin in chapter 12. So 10 of the 21 chapters are given to talking about just the last week. In Matthew, there are 28 chapters. In chapter 21, he recounts the events of Holy Week. So Matthew gives 8 of his 28 chapters talking about the last week. In Mark, there are 16 chapters. Chapter 11 of Mark recounts the events of Palm Sunday. So there are 6 of his 16 chapters are given to Holy Week. And then in Luke, there are 24 chapters. Chapter 19 recounts the events of Palm Sunday. So 6 of his 24 chapters are given to Holy Week. And the point is, in a 3.5-year ministry, as the Gospels, the 4 Gospels recount that for us, they give over 34% of their time to just talking about the last week of ministry, Holy Week. Now, why is that? Because all of Jesus' ministry is moving to Holy Week. Everything is moving to the cross and his atoning death and the resurrection. It's all about what Jesus came to do. The purpose which he came was to save us by his atonement on the cross for us and his victory over death in the resurrection. Everything points to Holy Week, that last week. That's why the gospel writers give so much attention out of a 3.5-year ministry to just the last week. And so it all begins on Palm Sunday. Today the crowd is welcoming him as the king, as he is. He is the king. But they don't realize that he is a king who wins victory by the sacrifice of himself. He is a king on the way to the cross. The crowd on Palm Sunday didn't realize that. They kind of thought he was a king. That's right. But they don't understand he's the king who comes to give himself in atonement for us all. Hope you join us tomorrow as we continue our 5-minute Bible study, looking at these events of Holy Week, all that Jesus did and taught in these last days before Calvary and before Easter. So join us next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of John.